You know, I love telling dad jokes, and even sometimes he laughs. What's going on, YouTube? I'm like a kid in a candy store with a sweet tooth because we have a brand new vendor. Now, the vendor's here inside of the Imperial City, which you can find inside of your Imperial City campaigns. Does not matter. You can do CP, no CP. You're going to find that there are going to be some new vendor options. And the fantastic thing is the Telvar merchant here that we're looking at has a rotational stock of items, which is fantastic. They rotate every Tuesday, and now we can finally be on track with PC players by getting this new rotational vendor as well. We're going to talk about why they're a bit different, what makes them so special, and most importantly, what they have this week. And let's start at the very beginning because we start with the Envenerating Amulet. Now, a couple things you may notice about this. This is a PvP set. Not just that it's a PvP set, it comes from PvP, and that's because the Telvar merchants are going to focus on having PvP dropped gear, meaning that the PvP sets that you use, you may see come up in the Golden Vendor here. Couple things to note though, as we talk about these for the first time, 100,000 Telvar is quite an investment, meaning that if you took this 100,000 Telvar and you invested it into Triune crystals, for example, and you wanted to make Triune runes, to make Tristat stuff, or if you wanted to roll for alchemy bags, you could make a good click of money. And so we have to kind of keep that in mind when we're thinking about value when it comes to, are these sets worth it? But let's start at the very beginning. Is the set worth it? You can see it's 2, 3, and 4 of healing taken, health, and adds armor. And when you deal direct damage, you have a 10% chance to create an area under the target that detonates after 1 second, applying Envenerating Aura. Where would you have guessed that comes from? It's the set name. For 10 seconds to enemies within 5 meters. Envenerating Aura lowers the health recovery, magicka recovery, and stamina recovery of enemy players by 129 per enemy hit. So you might be thinking to yourself, that is a very cattywampus effect. And let's be realistic, it is a very cattywampus effect. It does have some viability. I've seen 2 types of things use this. I have seen bombing builds, but more of the bombing builds that are like sorcerer bombing builds with negate, for example. Think of it this way. You drop a big negate, nobody can use their magicka abilities in that bubble, and now everybody there is getting sapped for their magicka health and stamina recovery. It can be pretty crippling, but also it's a very support-esque role. And even Templars that love to use this, to get up in the action, use jabs to just infinitely keep themselves alive, use this to lower the resources of the people around them. Even then, it suffers from there's quite a few other sets in the game that you could get that could probably do something a little bit better for yourself. But overall, there are some utilizations for this set, and it's pretty cool. And if you didn't know about it, well, now you do. And that's why I love these vendor reviews, is even if a set's not worth buying, now you know what to do if you come across it. And now you know what its utilization could be. Next up is Impregnable Armor, which you'll notice comes in both Healthy, Robust, and Arcane. I actually love when they do that, because now if you wanted to use this set, you can get it in any of the ones that you needed. And it gives you Health, Stam, Magicka, Crit Resistance. If you were a no-proc lover, this is a fantastic set. It gives you Crit Resistance, it gives you Health, Stam, Mag. What more could you want in a set? And the really nice thing is if you do use this for no proc Cyrodiil, you in theory don't really need to run Impenetrable Armor, meaning that you could run, Well Fitted, you could run Divine's Gear, etc., etc. Is it still worth it? Probably not, because Impregnable Armor you can get so cheaply on the market, and then you could just pay for the upgrade mats yourself. So I wouldn't buy it with Telvar. Now, what about utilization outside of, any sort of no proc campaigns, no proc events that come up? I would say it's okay. It's definitely a perfectly serviceable set. It's perfectly fine. It's probably, ironically, we can now use our set review meter here. I would say this is like a 7.1. It's a good set, but it doesn't really, go above and beyond in anything. And ironically, because we're now doing our numbers again like we do in our weekend vendors and venerating, I would say this is like a 7.2. It's so niche, but it is pretty good for its niche. I would almost be even thinking about putting it closer to 8, because if you can do what you're trying to do, which is group play, ball groups, sap everybody's resources, hit him with a negate bubble, that right there is probably like an 8 if you're doing it for that specific purpose. So yeah, if you're going to use it for that purpose, give it an 8. But either way, I don't think it's worth buying these. Get these from the ESO open market, more and hold. Get the upgrade materials. You can buy the purple versions of these very cheaply. Get the upgrade mats. Now we get to the leads, which is the exciting portion of this video and probably a reason to always have around 25,000 Telvar just in case something crazy comes up. Because I'll be honest with you, Ritual Circlet is the first one, and this actually is one of the more popular leads that you can get. It comes from the Gaze of Sithis, a very popular mythic we'll look at in a second, but notably, it drops from Cradle of Shadows from the final boss. And if you were to actually Google this lead, the first thing that comes up is some guy saying he's done Cradle of Shadows 32 times and he's not gotten it. And he's like, what am I doing wrong? That is the risk that you run whenever you do any sort of final boss dungeon farming for a lead. Let's talk about Gaze of Sithis, though, briefly. It's fantastic PvP mythic. It gives you health, health recovery, armor, but just means that you cannot reduce your block mitigation to 0, meaning that your block mitigation no longer occurs unless you are using the Sigic Order skill line and you have a bar slotted. You can still use the perk, give yourself a little bit of a bubble shield. Not going to really replace it. What I would say is that if you're looking to get into a class that does a lot of roll dodging, a lot of, things other than face tanking things, I used to love this on a sorcerer. I've since switched to Death Dealer's Feet, because I think that's a little bit better for sorcerers specifically, but this is a fantastic introduction to PvP mythic. I would put it probably in the A tier or the B tier for PvP mythics. I lean more towards the A tier than the B tier, but it's all opinion based, but I do think that this is a fantastic pickup, and it could save you a lot of time if you're like, Jake, I've done Cradle of Shadows. I don't want to keep doing this because it's a really goofy final boss fight. And this next one is a shout out to one of you guys who mentioned this as the lead that you had been looking for the most, Rune Scribed Braces, because ironically, this also is a final dungeon fight. It comes from Shipwright's Regret, which is a very annoying dungeon to farm on repeat, because if you get unlucky and you got to run that 10 times, probably not going to be having a lot of fun. But getting 25,000 Telvar probably going to be significantly easier, especially because you're probably getting Telvar just from your login rewards. I know I've been getting a ton from there. Savar Ward, though, let's talk about that. You cannot move while bracing. While bracing, you create a 12-meter zone of protection. Group members within the zone increase the amount of damage they can block by 30% and their health recovery by 950. It's one of those great support mythics. If you are somebody who's been looking for it, you know how annoying this lead is, especially because some of these other leads are also admittedly a little bit cattywampus. Although if you can knock off the Shipwright Regret one, and then you just have to do Banished Cells, fishing, a world boss, and then you're going to have to farm some blacksmithing crates inside your blacksmithing daily writs. But if you get this one out of the way, you're probably sitting pretty to get the rest of it. It's not an essential mythic. Depending on the type of content that you're doing, you probably don't need it as much, but it is still a good one to know about, and it will be a good time saver for you. Next up, we have Gold Coast treasure maps. Now, the easiest test of is this worth purchasing is, will you make more money putting your money in here, or would you get more money putting your Telvar into here? And for example, the Superb Imperial Reward can give you any single set that comes from the Imperial City, which is a fantastic assortment. But also, you can buy these items as well to get some apothecary items. These are way better on PC than console. But also, you can get Hijaku runes. Hijaku runes usually sell for 12,000 gold. So then you just take your little field trip back here, so you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, if Hijaku rune usually sells for like 10 to 12,000, and it's cheaper than this, is a Gold Coast treasure map worth more than 10 to 12,000 gold? The answer is no. But that's the thought process you should think to yourself, because this very well could be a really good treasure map, but unfortunately this week it is the Gold Coast. Not to be confused with the Gold Road zone of Westweld. This is the Anvil area where you become a Dark Brotherhood little fella. Then we have the option to buy everything that we talked about earlier, but instead of a necklace, it's now a ring. Obviously, the same thoughts and everything apply to that train of logic. And then we get to our scripts. And I will be honest, it's difficult to know if it's good to get these things. For example, Courage and Dispel are definitely some decent scripts, but because they are affects and focus scripts, you probably have gotten these at this point, so spending Telvar is probably not worth it. And let me know in the comments below, how much do you value your Telvar? because 10,000 Telvar to me is probably worth like 30 to 40,000 gold, if that. So that's usually about how much value I put on something. So it's definitely more expensive than our Scholarium vendor, but it's definitely not that much more expensive. But also, that's if you're just converting it to gold. There's so many other things you can buy with Telvar. You can buy the chests with them, for example, that you can basically use as free inventory space. I'll show you guys those in a second because a lot of you guys comment that you don't know what they are. And when you look at something like Crusaders Defiance, this can become pretty difficult to know, is this worth it for you? Because Crusaders Defiance is great, but it drops from world bosses, Cyrodiil quests, Fighters Guild quests, and then it could do a whole bunch of cool things, reduce the effectiveness and snares, grants immunity to disabling effects for 3 seconds to an ally, removes and grants immunity to snares and immobilizations for 4 seconds, removes up to 1 negative effect, removes up to 1 negative effect per sweep, but this could occur once every 2 seconds per target, or remove up to 3 snares or immobilization effects. So you can see there's quite a few ways that you could use this bad boy. Is it worth it for gold? I lean towards no, because you probably already have it if you're farming those types of things. And if you are a Cyrodiil person, which is probably the majority of the reasons why you would want this, you actually can already get it from doing Cyrodiil quests. So if you're in Cyrodiil, this is your shout out to, you probably want to be doing the quests there, so that way you can get these scripts without having to waste your Telvar on them. And then we have finally our twin slashes of Lilac Purple. Notably, you can also purchase these with Undaunted keys. I don't know how to tell you if this is a good value or not. If you want to have lilac looking twin slashes, go for it. But 65,000 Telvar is a pretty penny, but that's where I need you guys in the comments below to tell me how much you value your Telvar, because you can literally get 60 additional storage spots to put in your home for just 200,000 Telvar. And you can get quite a few of these 60 slot ones, and then you can also get the 30 slot ones. And you can also purchase these with crowns or writ vouchers. But it's just important to know that, for example, there's tons of other really cool things that you can purchase with your Telvar. I don't want to make this video too long, because I know that we are highlighting this vendor for the first time, so we can break things down a little bit more. But notably, there's quite a few cool things in here. I do want to point out that these rune boxes, that 1500 Telvar container, also has a chance to drop these, so just FYI. But there's so many cool things that you can get with your Telvar. I just hate the idea of you wasting it and you not knowing, oh man, I wish I would have gotten X, Y, or Z thing. To me, the biggest thing of that is those storage boxes, but overall, there's obviously tons of really cool things that you can get from this vendor. Everyone, thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments below, how much do you value your Telvar? How much do you have of it? Feel free to tell me any of those answers to those questions. As always, we're doing our 3 giveaway drawings. The first one is just leave a comment in the comments below. Just answer any of those questions, or just feel free to tell me your thoughts, general things, leads that you're looking for, so I know when to highlight, especially in the video title, that this is a really good sought after lead, or skill style, or script, or anything that you guys might be looking for, especially PvP sets, because quite a few new good PvP sets that are coming out on the horizon. Second thing is just make sure you're subscribed. We're on the road to 25,000 subscribers, a huge milestone. And the third thing is, look for a hidden word to be flashed upon the screen. And for the first person to comment that word, you will win. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.